What's going on, everybody? It's Dr. Bob here, live right now with our stream team member, Flexking, aka Kyle, aka Noodle Arms, aka Twigs for Biceps. Uh, Kyle, how are you doing today? You got a chance to check out one of the games for us at Wicked Good Gaming, and you can check that out at wickedgaming.com or youtube.com/Wicked Gaming. How are you doing today, Kyle? How was the game? How's everything going?
I'm doing good, Bob. Yeah, so we're doing our review on Silver Chains.
Hmm.
The biggest and best member of your WGG stream team.
Oh my
There you go, flex for
God.
it. But
Okay. You
so
really don't know.
so
God.
what I thought about this game. Now the game, the playthrough itself, the
Yeah.
movements are very good. Basically, like many indie games, we're going into basically a haunted mansion where the main character Peter is going to be basically taking a step back into his unknown past. He's ended up back at this mansion, does not know why he's here, and as you go through the story, it basically reveals itself that this is the home where he basically escaped from. Basically, a very bad incident that happened in the house, which was a family being murdered.
Okay. Well, full on spoilers there. And now everybody knows full on spoilers. Probably should have prefaced that with spoilers ahead. Um,
Well,
so it's fine. That's not nobody. They'll play it eventually. If they want to play it, they'll play it. So we quickly went over what the game's about. The game Silver Chains was developed by Cracked Heads, publisher being Head Up Games. Kyle, could you do us a quick favor and describe what the gameplay of Silver Chains is like? Because when I watched you stream, it looked like your typical first person wander through a haunted house, solve some mysteries, solve some puzzles. Could you just, describe that to everybody watching?
sure. The gameplay is the majority, like most walking simulators. It's very clean feeling with the movements, um, but basically, the one thing that I've noticed from other indie horror games that I've played is they leave you searching through. Basically, you can open every single drawer of every dresser in a house, and basically it's time consuming and leaves you searching for unnecessary things. This one actually kind of cuts that aspect of things out, which I actually enjoyed because I wasn't searching needlessly drawer to drawer for one matchstick or one oil lamp that will help me along the way. A little bit more of a linear type game, even with all the puzzle involvement, which they're moderately difficult puzzles if you don't pay attention. Basically, it is one game that you do need to pay attention. It does make you think. So I did enjoy that aspect of things.
Okay. And you said you played through I watched you do a playthrough of it the first time, but you also said you played through it a second time as well.
Right. So
Right.
the first playthrough, because I lacked on, when you going through and you do not know what's going on, you overlook things from time to time. And this one actually, I got hung up on one puzzle because there was a memory, and just trying to run through and getting frustrated and not being able to find what I was looking for. I kept overlooking something that actually revealed itself in a memory. So it was something that I had to actually pay attention to figure my way along,
Okay.
which normally doesn't happen too much time in games. Don't get hung up for that long. So the first playthrough took about 3.5 hours, I will say, just because that one puzzle I did get hung up on, just for a simple overlook of one thing, which, like I said, usually doesn't happen too often.
Okay. So, to quickly summarize what the actual game is about and what the gameplay is like, it is in fact a first person, like, explore a haunted mansion indie horror game in which you're branching out through the entire environment, you're solving puzzles, but it's also very much narratively driven, where it is, when you need to pay attention to cutscenes or dreams or callbacks or stuff that's going on inside of the game world itself, it comes in handy with the puzzle. So that's, I mean, it's good that you enjoyed that, and it's good that like you figured it out the first time through, and then you were capable of like reproducing it through your second run. How long did the second run take you?
The second run actually, I took a little break away from it, and I came
Mhm.
back, and I remembered as I went along. But it actually only took me about like an hour and 10, hour and 20 minutes to get through the whole game.
Okay,
So,
so
which was
that's
actually
not too bad.
no, I mean, it's not too bad, but for somebody, if they did not get hung up, it might have taken quicker than the 3 hours or
Right.
you know. So if somebody didn't get hung up, it would take it. It's kind of a fast game, um, which I think if they basically you could if there was a little bit more story, which the story unfolds itself as it goes. You find letters around the house basically that will reveal the story of what has happened in this house, um, the whole history of things that has gone on, and it reveals about why you're there, who these people are that are haunting the house, and it helps you progress through, and it helps build a picture, basically, of the entire game.
All right. So speaking of story, you are pretty much. I like to call myself our connoisseur of horror movies because I love the horror genre when it comes to movies. Kyle, if you guys don't know, is basically our go-to for horror gaming because I'm too much of a big bitch to do anything with first-person horror games. I played through Resident Evil 7, and that took me about 3 weeks to finally finish because it was too scary for me. But so, since you were talking about story, how does Silver Chains compare to other, first-person indie explore the mansion type of horror games? Like you said, this you wanted a little bit more from the story, but was it compelling enough and interesting enough to separate itself from other games like akin to this gameplay style?
So when it does come to these horror games, as you know, even with movies, it's when you're dealing with ghosts or haunted mansions, anything like that, it's very hard to change up the story. It seems like there's only so many directions you can take to basically create something new. Everything kind of always coincides with each other. So there's always that little aspect of needing to add that little detail in to separate it from others. The story it matches up with quite a few games, but it's not the same story basis. Just in the aspect of dead family in a house, you're trying to solve basically what has happened. These are all aspects of a lot of the horror games, but they added a little bit of details that kind of trying to think of the correct word is here. They added a little bit more to it basically, so you can separate it a little bit from the rest.
Okay. And you said that there were like dream sequences that bring you into like another portion of the game that gives you some exposition to the story itself, which also then ultimately plays into, puzzles going forward and completing different areas of the house going forward. Is that something that's common in these games? Because like I said before, I don't play these that often. Is is that common in these types of games, or is that something that like kind of separates itself
What, what,
from
I'm
the other?
sorry. I'm sorry. What was?
Like the dream aspect of it, where you
Okay.
go into a separate portion of
Well,
the world?
well, usually there will be some sort of sequence that's either a dream or feels like you're making a trip into the past. So in that aspect, you do see it, but this one was like this one was almost like his ancestors were speaking to him. Somebody's reaching to him from, they the presence in the house knows he's there. It seems as if they brought him back here for a reason, which is revealed through the gameplay. Um, so, I mean, it's hard to say because I had fun playing through it, and every time I play one of these games, they all feel like they have a similar aspect, but just being in a new environment, even if they have those little reoccurring things, they all have their own little flavor to them. They all have a different feel to them a little bit, and it does. You don't end up feeling like you're repeating the same thing over and over.
Okay. So there is a sense of similarity to the other games in the genre. Hey Cooper. So there's a similarity to the other games in the genre, which is good because it's familiar. But then there's also enough that makes it makes it unique enough. There's differences that make it unique enough to warrant, people wanting to play different games in the genre instead of saying, "Oh, it's just like the rest. I could just go back and replay through, indie horror game X or indie horror game Y." So that's good to hear, and it's good to hear that you enjoyed playing through the game. So we're watching you right now do a little gameplay. As we record this. Hi, Coop again. Uh,
Sorry about the dog, man.
um, so the game to me visually is very impressive for a relatively independent company, development company to create, or I shouldn't say independent, but like not a AAA company to create. The game looks incredible. The lighting looks incredible. Like, what are your takes? Do you think that this game visually is more visually appealing than others? Do you think, have you come across any weird glitches or weird hitches or, stuff
Uh,
that shouldn't be there visually?
I haven't really noticed any glitches really that I've gotten hung up on or anything like that. When I first stepped into the game, right off the bat, actually, I was like, "Wow, this is really good looking," and this
Yeah,
is
no,
my
I remember because you specifically told me right away. You were like, "Wow, this is a beautiful game."
yeah. I honestly wasn't expecting it. I mean, I seen some of the game previews, but you know when you actually get to play the game, it's a different feel than just watching a small video or something. Um, Even small little things like when you walk, the camera's not shaking, but if you pick up speed, he kind of he bobs the lantern. It's small things like that and make a difference. It doesn't screw up your visual, but it shows the aspect of movement. It gives it a little bit extra. And there's actually one part that I was talking about with our Chris P earlier, that there's a piano in this, and you actually sit down and you play the piano, and when you see the character's hands, it just looks really, really good. And also, the varnish on the piano, you can actually see the reflection of his hands in it, and it's just they did a very good job with the visual detail of things, and I was really happy with that.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, still like watching through this game, and if you're watching this right now and you want to see the rest of the gameplay, there should be VODs up on Kyle's Twitch. It's twitch.tv/Flexking. Um, I mean, the game looks good. According to you, of course I didn't play it. According to you, the game plays very well. There's a lot of small nuances to it that make it just enough. Just gives it just enough uniqueness to warrant people wanting to play it. And the story seems interesting enough. I personally don't get pulled into the ghost haunted house horror games. I don't really like ghost haunted horror movies that much, but
Right.
it seems like if this is your niche, if this is your cup of tea and you want to try one of these games out, if you want to get a good quick scare in, this is a game that's worth checking out.
I absolutely 100% agree. Um,
Okay.
I really think like I said, I had a lot of fun playing through it. And just if you're one of those people that likes atmosphere and small minor details, like even there's a rocking chair in the room when you first start, and these are small things that I notice when I play these games. If you walk over the rocking chair and you actually step on the leg of it, the chair rocks, but you actually hear the creaking in the floorboards as it rocks, and the small like little wind gusts and things like that. That all builds an atmosphere to the game that will get your heart pumping, and that's the reason a lot of people play these games. They want to be scared. They also want to get immersed into it and basically see a world unfold, and they really want to know how this story is going to end up. Like little things like this, you hear the voices, and you're coming up on creepy girl in the corner, and she's talking, has that strange voice, and you don't know what's going to happen. Small things like that are really what helps builds the game and keeps you wanting to proceed through it, even when you get that, like you said, you don't like to play these games because they terrify you.
Yeah.
When
I don't know. I wouldn't go as far as to say terrified.
Listen,
it's just not my cup of tea.
Right. Okay. We'll say cup of tea, but you know what I mean. But things like that are what keeps me wanting to push through the game further and see how far they can push the envelope, and if they will make me. I mean, I don't know how many times I played games and I straight jump out of my chair almost because this is actually the piano part I was talking about.
All right, let's see it.
Something like this, you actually see the shine and the fingers moving. That's amazing to me.
I couldn't count. I could count on one hand how many horror games I've seen do something like this with finger animations and reflections, and it's one, and I think it's just Silver Chains.
Yeah, because this is another thing I notice a lot of indie horror games I've played. Things like reflections and mirrors. If you can be standing in front of a mirror, a lot of times you will not even see your own reflection. So to have something like that is actually really cool. That's one of those small little things that I really liked. So as I played through it, I did really enjoy it, and I think it is worth a playthrough. But as I said, for somebody that knows what they're doing, doesn't get hung up, I felt like it was a little short, and some of the things towards the end of the game, which I don't want to give away, felt a little bit out of place for me. I still enjoyed it, but I thought they could have pushed it a little bit further, and it was. I enjoyed the whole game, and then when it got to the end, the ending I just felt like kind of fell flat a little bit. I thought they could have gave you a little bit more.
Okay. So not to, I mean, we kind of already spoiled a little bit, but not to fully spoil the game. Does it leave off with any hint of, hey, maybe there's like a DLC coming later on, maybe there could be more, hey, maybe there could even be a sequel?
Honestly, I would love it. I would love if they did a sequel or some sort of add-on, but the way it kind of ended, it was like, it felt like it was over.
Well,
but
hey, a good thing about a lot of these developers is they can, if they find a good niche point in a genre and they find success with the game that they just released, they could always go back and try to create something else from it. Or not just something else from it, but they could try to go back and, create a game similar enough to it where the original fan base wants to come back and check the new project out. So it seems to me like this game, it's got mostly positive reviews for, the vast majority of review sites like Metacritic, on Steam. Everything is, for the most part, positive, which is good. I don't know. It leads me to believe that there's probably something more in the future for this game, or maybe not this game, like this IP, this franchise. Certainly the developers. So I mean, I guess we already went through a lot. You already told us that you enjoyed the game, but I mean, I guess we could just finally review it, and we're doing something a little different for reviews. Instead of doing like a number scaling, because everybody does that, we are going to do something different, and it's a buy, sale, or pass rating. So just to explain, like, if you really enjoy the game and you think that people should definitely support the company, they should check it out, it's a clear buy. Like, go on Steam, support them, give them the money, play through the game, enjoy it, and then let us know what you think about it. Sale is more along the lines of I enjoyed the game to an extent. I think that there are some clear pros or very clear cons, and maybe at the current price point, it isn't as much of a necessity to play than say if it was 40% on sale on Steam or a humble bundle exclusive, or not exclusive, but a humble bundle monthly or something like that. And then passes. Hey, I played through the game. I didn't really enjoy it as much. It's probably safe to wait on the company's next project. So it seems to me like this is a clear. You should probably get your hands on it, give it a whirl. What do you think, Kyle?
For me, like you said, how just want to go back into a little bit with how it ended. That's one thing with these type of games as well, paranormal things. There is things that you could do. Oh, it was a vision. Oh, this is how it ended. But this is what really happened, and boom, you all of a sudden have a whole second game out of it. So there is things that they could do. And if I didn't know if there was extra DLC or anything coming to it or a promise of some sort of extension, I honestly would wait for a sale.
Okay.
And that is only because, as I said, I played through the second time when I knew what I was doing, and it only took an hour and 10, something like that. So $25 on a price tag for a game that you can beat in a little over an hour.
Yeah. And now that you say it, okay.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying now. Yep.
So but like I said, that is my only con, is actually the length of the game for the price.
See, that's a good problem to have, where the people playing the game and reviewing the game, the biggest issue that they have is they want more.
Yes, and
Like that's good.
That's
Yeah,
why.
well, it's good to an extent.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, I enjoyed it so much, I would absolutely play more of this from them. It's just the price tag for the length of play. Like I said, it took me about 3 hours for. So if it was a normal 4-hour game, $25 usually is pretty good for a horror game.
Okay.
But
well, you're the expert. I'm fucking not.
Well, most of the games around that genre are around like $20-$25. You know, from smaller companies, or indie companies, we'll say. So if I would wait for a sale unless you have a absolute need and you don't mind, because I pick up games all the time and don't worry about the price because I just want to play something new. And I was super happy with this one. I was really happy with the gameplay. Just now that I know what was ahead of me, like I said, with the length, it just seems a little bit much.
All right, so it's a midway point between buy and wait for a sale.
Yeah,
So
that's what I would go with.
Yeah, so if you are someone who's really looking for a new horror game to just sit down, do a quick playthrough of, and cleanse your palate, get a new taste of like a good horror game, this is a buy. If you are somebody who is, you're interested in it, but you're not entirely sold and you want something that's going to have a little more content to it, maybe something that could come with in the future with like a sequel or some later on DLC, or, you never know with these types of games. Maybe it's something that you wait for a sale on Steam or Humble Bundle or like GOG or anything else of the sort. So it seems like a pretty decent response for it. I agree with you. I think it's right down the middle there.
Yeah, if they came out with anything else or some add-on for this, I'd jump on it immediately.
Okay, well, hey, you heard it here first. That was our first Wicked Spooky review. Dr. Bob here with Flexking, aka Kyle, aka Noodle Arms, aka Twigs. Yeah, so this was our Silver Chains review on PC, out now by Head Up Games or Cracked Head Games, published by Head Up. The game is $25, and hey, if you need a game like this, it's there for you. It's worth the buy. If you are, interested but staring at afar, maybe wait for a sale. So, Kyle, everybody can find you at twitch.tv/FlexKing. This video is going to go up on youtube.com/WickedGaming. And you could check us out at twitch.tv/Wicked Gaming every week. Every Thursday for the podcast. You got anything you want to close out with, Kyle?
I just want to thank you for letting me do this with you. I had a lot of fun, like I said, playing through, and thank you for my chance at a first review. I really appreciate it, man.
Of course. We don't worry. We're gonna get you. We're gonna iron all this shit out. We're gonna get you all these horror games that we get emails for, and we're gonna keep pumping out content like that. Okay. This is our first one, so it's gonna be a little rough around the edges. We'll figure it out as we go.
Absolutely, and I'm here to keep on going, man.
Kid loves horror. All right. Well, stay tuned. We'll get Wicked Spooky Reviews #2 up sooner or later.